the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I'm your host, Ryan Hudson. And join with me, as always, is your co-host,
Jason Dietz.
The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force Jason to watch big blockbuster movies he's refused to watch because he didn't think they're worth his time. We are starting our second season of Star Wars, baby. We are We're two high school teachers. We teach English, film, philosophy, creativity classes. We attempt to use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, philosophy, film studies, and ethics in our films and push you, the listener, to think critically about your entertainment. Thank you so much for joining with us.
We are grateful you're here.
Yeah, we love that you're here, that you come to listen. It means a lot.
It does.
And if you haven't already done so, feel free to leave a like or a 5-star review.
Or talk to someone that you love so you can share the love that we feel and that you feel for this podcast with other people. 'Tis the season. You should give the gift of the Desert of the Real to everyone that you love and know. Or even slightly acquainted with. Or the guy in front of you at Walmart.
Yeah. Or the person, if you're listening to this in a car as you drive, tell the person next to you in the stoplight.
There you go. Roll your window down and be like, hey!
If you ever want to send us a message or something you disagree with or any recommendations or anything at all, email us at desertoftherealpod@gmail.com. I have long awaited this day.
And here we are.
So, listener, this is how it's going to go. We're going to do the prequel trilogy, then a Jason's Choice. And then we're going to do the
actual true...
Nope.
Oh.
We're going to do the solo movie.
Oh, fail.
And then Rogue One.
What? Why?
What do you mean, why?
Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, Episode 4, Episode 5.
Hold on. No. This is not negotiable. These are theatrical released movies on the big screen.
Come on.
And then we're going to do another Jason's Choice.
No, look, they have numbers associated. There are 9 of them.
Then we are going to watch the original trilogy, a Jason's Choice, the sequel trilogy, Jason's Choice. That's the next.
I feel betrayed. Okay, so actually, we should put a poll. We'll put a poll.
No.
Should I have to watch movies that are not part of the clearly numbered and labeled Star Wars canon that starts with Episode 1 and goes through Episode 9?
Okay, you do not want to mess with that word canon, by the way, because that gets tricky fast with Star Wars. Because arguably, there's a TV show called The Acolyte, which is before the prequels, which we're not watching. Then there's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which takes place in between 3 and 4, which we're not watching. It should have been a movie. It would have been a lot better if it was a 2-hour movie instead of an 8-episode thing. But we're not touching that one either. Then there's The Mandalorian. There's the Ahsoka show. There's Boba Fett.
Look how kind I'm being to not force you to watch all of those.
We are watching the theatrical released Star Wars movies, which, besides the episodic titled ones, is Solo, a Star Wars story, and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Yep, we're doing those. You gotta see those two.
No, I don't. Well, apparently I do. Anyhow,
so let's back up a little bit. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace from 1999. Where were you in your life? And also, what do you remember about this movie coming out? Because, like...
you realize that's like 25 years ago.
Yeah, so...
Oh, okay.
In context,
what do I remember about the movie being released?
I didn't see it in the theaters, but I was definitely...
You were 4!
I was dressed up as Anakin Skywalker for Halloween in kindergarten. That's where I was.
I was in 1999.
Yeah.
Just married. I owned my business.
Nice.
That was going well at the time. That's where I was.
Do you remember the hype for this movie?
No.
Because
I was a Star Trek guy. And so Star Trek is like, you can't be a Coke guy and a Pepsi guy. You can't be a Ford guy and a Chevy guy. You can't be a Star Wars and a Star Trek guy. I realize that's broken down in this generation. But when I was growing up, it was not like that.
But you like the Star Wars movies.
I love the actual true 4, 5, and 6 Star Wars movies.
Yes.
I have great memories of watching those with my father.
And you saw this one back in the day.
I did.
Because you were texting me stuff.
We actually bought this one, I think.
Oh, really?
I used to own a DVD copy of this. Although on rewatch, I have no idea why.
Yeah, you were texting me stuff, and it felt like it was your first watch.
It's been 25 years.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun. It's basically all going to be new. Okay, I have a ton of background for you. So back in the 70s, when the first movies came out, toys, especially toys connected to movies, is not at all like it was like today or even in the 90s. Like you had like G.I. Joes, basically. So Lucas had a deal with the company. It was called Kenner, I believe. Mm-hmm. Kenner toy brand.
Yep.
He would get 2 cents for every dollar for the Star Wars merchandise. And that's a big thing that happened with Star Wars, was a ton of merchandise. Yeah. It kind of helped like
launch the merchandising.
Yeah, exactly. It was the start of, how we know it today kind of thing. Kenner was eventually bought by Hasbro, and they had it in contract where either he got the 2 cents for every dollar or just $10,000 a year, but they didn't pay or whatever sometime in there. And Lucas was like, "Oh, void a contract, new contract." So he made a brand new deal with what is now Hasbro to get 18%, which was a record. So they sold the toy rights before even a script was made
for this movie.
Yeah, for this movie. So what that means is a couple big things. One, this is technically an independent film. It was independently financed by Lucas. He got tons of money beforehand because people knew this was going to be huge. This is Star Wars coming back.
Yeah.
Lucas got no notes on this movie. This is 100% George Lucas's vision. Wow. There was no one at Fox or anyone that said, you should do this, or you have to change this. Nope. George Lucas.
That means his vision sucks.
Well, that's sad. Here's the other thing. This is, I think this is his 4th film ever directed.
Just the 4 Star Wars?
No, he didn't. He directed A New Hope. He does not direct Empire Strikes Back, or he doesn't direct.
Oh, I didn't know
Return
that.
of the Jedi. I mean, he is very hands-on. He's producing and stuff, writing scripts and stuff, but he didn't technically direct.
Oh,
so this is Phantom Menace is the first film he directed since Star Wars: A New Hope.
First film at all, or just first Star Wars film?
He directed A New Hope. No, and he didn't direct any other films in between Star Wars movies.
He didn't direct anything in between?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then he does this trilogy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he does this trilogy and has yet to make another movie.
I thought he was a director.
He's
a writer.
Yeah, I mean, take that as you will.
I did not know that at all. Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I guess he is in charge of a type of empire. I don't know. There's a lot of Star Wars things happening all the time, so he's got stuff to do. So besides toy rights, which by the way was huge, merchandise was not exclusive to Hasbro, so they made Star Wars everything. There's exclusive deals with KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell. Pepsi would spend more money than Coca-Cola for the previous Olympics on Star Wars stuff. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
There were 73 licenses in total. billion-dollar deals happening here. That's why in 1999, kind of what I was curious about, what you remember, there were just Phantom Menace everything.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and
I do remember that.
Specifically, I remember we had one of those Yoda Magic 8 balls where you ask a question, then you turn it over. I had a like Jar Jar Binks stuff. I had Jar Jar Binks like ball or something.
You had Jar Jar Binks stuff?
Yeah.
Wow, and you said that on mic? Really?
Okay, a couple other things. So, the movie trailer. Arguably the most important trailer of all time. Let me explain. Because this is before YouTube. This is before really the internet. This is still like AOL type of stuff. In fact, the trailer came down. You had to download the trailer to watch it. So this is like click a button, wait for hours just to watch a trailer. 30 million downloads in 1999. Which, by the way, is a huge movie year. Like, we had The Sixth Sense. We had, like... Shawshank. We had The Matrix. A huge movies. And this is just one of the big movies. It's only a few years away from YouTube where people will just, like, methodically watch trailers. Like, every frame. What's happening here? What's this? So, what's funny... It's actually a fantastic trailer. The Phantom Menace. The only thing I would say, which was kind of a bummer, is it spoils, and this is in quote, that Darth Maul has a double-bladed lightsaber. And that was like, it's like, oh, you imagine seeing that in theaters for the first time. Like, what? It comes out the other side? Anyway, so 30 million downloads in 1999 internet. Also, they made a special music video for Duel of the Fates, which included new footage of the movie and also behind the scenes footage, but it's just like seeing John Williams writing it and conducting and stuff. This music video was on MTV, was like I don't know how long, but was like in the top music videos for a while for the soundtrack of Star Wars in 1999. This is how big it was and how like people were like super excited about it. It had the largest opening day ever at the time. And adjusted for inflation, this movie is the third highest grossing Star Wars film. It's had multiple re-releases. There was over 100 million VHS copies sold in 2 days.
Wow.
And then a few weeks later, when the DVD came out, 2.2 million copies sold in the first week. Like, the thing is, this movie almost immediately was not well received by critics and fans, but that didn't stop it having all these successes.
It's just a juggernaut.
The VHSs, DVDs. Yeah, exactly. The merchandising after this movie, episode 2 and 3, nowhere near like it was for this. Arguably, the 7th movie, The Force Awakens, had similar stuff. But it wasn't like we would see with this. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
A massive film event.
These prequels, they get kind of a bad rap for a lot of things, but kind of a big one is CGI heavy.
It's not terrible CGI though.
No, it holds up. It looks
really pretty good especially for a 25-year-old movie.
Yeah.
That was one of my pros. The CGI looked good. Better than some of the Marvels. The late Marvels, even.
CGI is so new at this point. George Lucas says when he saw Jurassic Park, that's what said, oh, I can now make my next Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Because even back in the 70s, there was always talks and rumors of going back and doing it. So, that being said, it's not the first CGI character, Jar Jar Binks, but it is the very first motion capture for a character. And there's some shots where it's like the actor's like in a suit and stuff that looks like Jar Jar Binks, but they figured out it just looks better and works better if you just do them all CGI. So there's groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
My question that I mostly want to address and try to break down with you, why do people like this movie?
There are people that like it?
Okay, so some context that I don't think you have. For the past 15 years after this movie came out, there's been two camps of fans. There were the grown men who would consistently trash talk these movies, this trilogy, this is bad Star Wars, this is not my Star Wars. In fact, when YouTube did start, people in I don't know, early 2000s, they gained a platform talking about Star Wars and like why it was awful and stuff. And really, it helped shape a lot of people's opinions. But a lot of your students and my students would say that they love these movies. And I think part of that is the TV show. There is a TV show that's gone on for 7 seasons that have Anakin and Obi-Wan as main characters during the Clone Wars and stuff in between movie 2 and 3. And I think that's also kind of helped reinforce, like, strengthening the weaker parts of these movies. I don't love the show. I do have to say, audience, I'm not a fan of Clone Wars, which is heresy to a lot of fans. People will say that's like the best Star Wars.
Is that one of the 3 movies?
No.
Oh.
The cartoon series that we are not watching. What I would say is people maybe my age and now younger, like millennials and Gen Z, and maybe I guess Gen Alpha, they unironically love the prequels.
That's crazy.
And they will say how at the time these movies were coming out, critics were not kind to them. But when the children grew up to be adults now, they are the ones reaching out to these actors like, no, we love these movies. Like, there is genuine love for this trilogy here. And I have to admit, I can't fully explain why. There's something about this movie that I really like.
I can't imagine what that would be.
We'll get into some of it, I think. But anyway, there's some background of
that's a lot.
What this movie was and everything here.
Yeah,
it is important to note. Yeah, this is George Lucas's vision.
Wow,
and I honestly think
sad.
Well, but I think there's something to say about it, though.
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say about it.
I mean, it's not just successful because it's Star Wars. It has found success now.
Because it's Star Wars.
Maybe. But
like there's almost no redeeming, cinematically, almost no redeeming thing.
Cinematically, here. I would disagree. Other elements,
let's argue then. I have a short list of things I thought were great.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
So the creatures look great.
Yeah.
That's kind of been a standard thing for Star Wars. Like, whoever their creature creators are, they do a great job. They're much better than the Marvel creatures in the latter Marvel movies.
Yeah, like those are like whatever. But here we have the giant fish.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah.
The battle with the Sith at the end was fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's the only part of this movie that I'm like, wow, this is amazing looking.
Yeah. And you will find fans that say the only reason people think they like this movie is because it ends on such a high note there with Darth Maul.
Battle, yeah.
And there is a chance, because there is no dialogue, that all of that was like directed by like the stunt people or the second unit.
Could be, but that was magnificent.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is, that battle, is that the song that you keep talking about?
Duel of the Fates.
Piece that's playing while they're dueling Darth Maul.
Oh man, when
that is magnificent.
The doors open and you hear that choir, it's like energizing.
Yeah. So everything about that, I don't know, 10 minutes or so of this movie is magnificent.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah. And that's like John Williams, he does all the episodic movies.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars is not Star Wars without John Williams.
Yeah.
And you don't know the prequel songs as much. I think there are also like fantastic John Williams stuff in the next two as well. But I
will most likely end up buying the soundtracks because I'm huge John Williams fan. The bureaucracy, I thought was fantastic. Like they perfectly capture, like when a society. So there's a cycle for cultures, for societies.
Yeah,
we start with revolution and the establishment, blah 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 blah, and then generally speaking, get to the bureaucratic stage right before they die, like the revolt and the new society is born. I was getting I felt in myself I was getting upset because I hate bureaucracy.
Yeah.
I hate rules just to have rules. that don't have any like critical reason for them. So yeah, so that scene, they captured it. Like, we have to have a committee to decide whether or not they're actually being attacked and killed on whatever planet it was. So that was great.
Okay, and like when I was a kid, I'm more like lightsabers cool, whatever.
Right.
And now as an adult, I'm like forcing a settlement.
Yeah.
Trade disputes.
Yeah, that was.
I'm
good.
like, this is. I'm like, I think this is interesting.
Yeah. So that's my list of things that I like.
That was it. That's fair.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's some philosophical stuff that I thought was cool. Some of the lines were cool, but yeah, that's about all I got. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying to be open-minded.
Hey, we were with my family the other day, and I mentioned we were about to start Star Wars. And just mentioning this movie, my dad remembers his hatred towards Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh,
dude,
you gonna watch the
can't.
Jar Jar Binks one? And you know what? Okay, George was trying to do something like a purely comedic character here.
And so he chose to make him a caricature of a, what is that, Jamaican?
Yeah.
Like man. Okay, right. So apparently everyone's already said all of that.
Fun fact, by the way, you want to know who wanted to be Jar Jar? This is true. Michael Jackson.
The Michael Jackson
asked if he could be Jar Jar Binks.
And they told him no?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I should look it up.
Well, good call.
So
I'm glad Michael
Jar
Jackson's
Jar's role is
that.
greatly dialed back in the next two because I think fan reaction.
Yeah.
But like here's the problem though. Here's the flip side of hatred of this. Fans, especially Star Wars fans, are vicious. There's a fun quote that's on the internet is no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. Because if if something is different or something doesn't line up what they think is Star Wars, they will be vicious.
Oh, wow.
So the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, his name is Ahmed Best, and he was heavily criticized because of, Jar Jar Binks is Jar Jar Binks. So he actually got to the point of suicide because of how bad it got from fans. But, like I said, it's come around where
he committed suicide?
No, he got to the point where he wanted to.
Oh, wow.
But like I said, fans have come around and it's like, no, we actually love you.
Why?
Because if you grow up with this character not hating it, it's just... I don't know. It's that when you get older...
We enjoy racial stereotype characters that make certain groups of people look like morons. That's great.
This actor actually gets to play a Jedi in one episode in The Mandalorian. Or there's like a flashback where you see him at the Jedi Temple. Just like, hey, we love... Like, it's not that we just love you. It's like, we literally don't want that to be like a stain on your Star Wars love. You're also this Jedi character.
He's so stupid. He's such a American.
But you literally... Yeah, everything you can think about under the sun has been said about Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, so we can skip Jar Jar.
If this was the first Star Wars movie ever, do you think this would have been a successful movie?
I don't think Star Wars would have been a thing.
Do you think the understanding of Jedis and the Force would make sense if this was the first Star Wars ever?
No.
Because you think about it, kind of takes you by the hand in the original movies.
Right.
And what the Force is, what you can do with it.
We have the whole Dagobah thing and Yoda's training. Yeah.
This movie, it's on a spaceship. It's like, I don't sense anything.
We just jump on. Yeah. I never thought of that. Yeah, this would have been a really rough introduction to Star Wars.
Yeah.
So
it's weird that, because some people will watch this first, and because that's kind of why there was so much hype, is Star Wars was kind of like a religion, and the movies were like the Bible.
Sure. You
watch those 3 movies, that's everything there is to know. Then there are more books and stuff.
Right. There's a ton of books.
A ton of books, some video games, yada yada.
Some of them are actually really good.
And then it's like, well, here's another movie. People were just ecstatic to get anything new.
And then they got this.
So here's, I think a friend brought this up to me. in the original movie, Obi-Wan Kenobi's just wearing these robes
Right.
in the desert, you know? He's like a monk, whatever.
Right.
Now, that is the official Jedi robe. All of the Jedis in this movie wear the robes.
That nondescript brown robe.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, how come Obi-Wan's clothes, he's just a guy in a desert. Maybe that's what you wear in the desert.
Right.
Nope, that's the official Jedi attire.
Cool.
Yeah, I kind of wish, like, they should have done something different besides the robe thing, but that's like a minor gripe and does not matter. It's just weird how that's what happened in retrospect. Okay, tell me your cons.
All right, so the obvious elephant in the room is Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie. That's the probably the biggest thing.
No, did you know he was in this?
No. That was the worst. That was like you're eating like a hamburger and then you see a half of a little bug wiggling around in it.
Oh my gosh.
Freaking guy.
I forgot.
And actually, if you look at his character and his delivery in this movie, it perfectly captures my main complaint with him.
What?
And like he can't act. He just sits there and looks at you and he just says stuff. Actually, okay. So that was a little bit, tongue in cheek, but still, I mean, he's in the movie, so that automatically loses half a star.
Oh my gosh.
But like I don't know that we can actually use the word acting for anyone in this movie except for the boy. Whatever his name is. Jake
Lloyd.
Yeah. He's literally the only character in the entire movie that shows any emotion at all. I guess Darth Maul. Darth Maul gets anger.
Who has like 2 or 3 lines.
He's just like pissed off. And he gets that. Everyone else is just wooden. Like if they were like a middle school drama troupe, this is the acting that we would get.
Yeah.
And that was shocking. Like that blew me away.
Yeah.
Because we've got like Natalie Portman is in this. We've got Samuel. Yeah. Who else is famous?
Liam Neeson.
Well, Liam Neeson can't act either.
Wow, more. What do you mean?
Oh my gosh. There is no worse famous actor than Liam Neeson.
Wow.
How are you saying wow? He's never acted in his life. He's literally the same character. All the time. That's that's Obi-Wan, young Obi-Wan guy.
Yeah, he's in
He doesn't act. Like, there's no acting here. It's literally just people delivering lines while they stand and look at each other.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just saying yep.
I mean, no,
that's nuts.
You're 100% correct. The dialogue is super wooden.
So
all right. So
how did this get out of like no one told George Lucas, hey, we should maybe have our actors act? Maybe I don't know.
No one says no to George Lucas for the next 3 movies.
I was literally shocked.
Can I defend wooden acting?
No.
All right. Okay. So, you are 100% right. George Lucas is not a strong writer. In fact, the next movie, Attack of the Clones, worse. It's there's some really bad dialogue.
That's awesome.
So, here's the thing, though. There's a video I watched on YouTube. It's like called The Power of Wooden Dialogue or something. Something like that about these 3 movies here.
Okay.
Where George Lucas clearly knows how to do specific things incredibly well. Like, for example, like little details in special effects.
Right.
Creating incredible looking shots of things. And also sound effects. Who has better sound effects than Star Wars? So you kind of have to maybe compare the dialogue to sound effects. Like, you could almost watch this movie with no sound and understand exactly what's happening, because like they come into a scene and they kind of just say like the necessary words and move on. It's kind of like a silent movie.
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is, and I think there's a kind of charm to it. And here's the other thing. Wooden dialogue, for some reason, is more memorable.
No, I couldn't remember.
Now,
I couldn't
tell you pod racing.
A single thing that anyone in this movie
Let's
said.
try spinning. That's a good trick. You're right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short. None of this?
I think...
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. These are all lines from the movie.
Okay.
And I think they stand out because they're so bad. There's actually a subreddit. There's a subreddit called Prequel Memes where people have gone through all of the lines of these three movies and have turned into memes.
Okay.
Because they're so ridiculous.
So how does that translate into we should watch these?
Because you know them so well.
I don't know them so well. I don't want to know them.
Well,
see, that's frustrating that you already know that and you already recognize that and you're making me watch these.
No,
that sucks. That's crap.
I said, I kind of like this one. I don't know why. And
I don't know why. I couldn't tell you.
I'm trying to explain from what I understand to why people like this movie.
So I have 3 movies that I have to watch people sit in a chair and say, "Oh dear, they are going to attack. We should probably do something about that."
Now there are 2 of them.
Oh.
Take her away. My mind tricks do not work on me. Only money. There's just lines that you remember or will stick out because of how
our Jewish stereotype and our what are they, Chinese
or Japanese? Yes, very.
That sucks. This movie sucks so bad. Oh man, I can't believe that I have to.
This is one of Star Wars is the biggest franchise of all time, and this is one of the movies.
Okay, so the pacing is terrible.
Yeah.
The editing is terrible.
Wait, like wipes and stuff?
Yes, it looks like they loaded it into PowerPoint. Every single transition is a PowerPoint transition.
All of those transitions are in the original trilogy. That's how Star Wars transitions.
And so they just do that.
Okay, here's another thing you can maybe say about the dialogue. Maybe George Lucas is literally doing the Buck Rogers stuff.
What does that mean?
Star Wars is based on all the things George Lucas watched as a kid on TV.
Okay.
Like science fiction in the 50s and stuff.
Okay.
And there are those transitions in those science fiction movies. And so that's kind of how we got into Star Wars. It's like, this is literally an homage to old science fiction stuff. And now all Star Wars has them.
Okay.
So you maybe could argue, or I don't know, maybe George Lucas wanted his movies to sound like those two with the dialogue.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe. I think George Lucas isn't a great writer. I think that's what it is.
Apparently not.
No, but he knows what he's doing because he made Star Wars, though.
So, does Samuel L. Jackson die?
He is in the next 2 movies. He's not a main character. Oh my!
Every time he is visible on my screen, it pisses me off.
Oh my! I can't believe this.
All right, that's essentially
your negatives. 2 of them were
Samuel freaking L. Jackson.
All right.
Wait, so also one of the texts I sent you was, so is Anakin like an immaculate conception?
Yeah.
Like so is like the Jesus?
I think there's a comic that insinuates that the Phantom Menace.
Force.
You know who the Phantom Menace is, right?
The Emperor?
Yeah,
Palpatine.
Okay, so there is one comic that insinuates that he did that. Like
he raped her?
He uses the Force to get her pregnant.
To inseminate her?
But as far as I know, that's not like official canon. It's just...
So he just popped into being.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. I mean,
so all of my cons are like, yeah, yep.
I mean,
okay. So
that's just how it is.
I don't understand how we can have this movie. Anyhow,
So
that's all I've got until we get to the philosophy stuff.
Okay, I got a couple fun stuff. In the first scene when Kenobi and Qui-Gon they're breaking in the door and things, the destroyer droids come in. The master destroyers. And then they have to run away. They use force speed. Whoop! Like, never see that power ever again. Not even in the sequels.
It just vanished.
That's the one and only time we see super force speed.
Wow. That's fun.
Okay, so this was a really big point of controversy for Star Wars fans. Qui-Gon, he takes a blood sample of Anakin and mentions this magical word, midichlorians.
Yes.
So a lot of fans got upset about this.
That he outed the midichlorians?
No, that the movie has the audacity to try to explain the Force with science. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So, and I personally don't mind this.
I didn't
like
even
a
think
scientific explanation for how the Force works, like microscopic things in your DNA.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Some fans, especially at the time, were not happy with that. It's like, that's ruining the Force. What are you talking about?
So the Force, they wanted it to be magic or something?
I guess, yeah.
With no rules, just...
Kinda, yeah.
Oh.
And after...
That actually improved the Force for me.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I kind of like it. After this movie, you don't hear the words midichlorian again. Because I think they were worried about it. So midichlorians was a thing that fans got upset about at one point.
Wait, of all the things in this movie, they got upset about that?
No.
That's funny.
No, that's just one of the things.
Okay.
Actually, so here's the thing. Speaking of those Red Letter Media videos, something it did point out that I've always remembered is who's the main character of this movie?
The kid, I guess.
Yeah,
Anakin.
But he doesn't come into play until after 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, structure's not great.
No.
There's not really a main character. It's kind of Qui-Gon, but not really. It's not Obi-Wan, not Padme. I guess Anakin.
Right.
But he's not there for a while.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'm a person. My name is Anakin.
Oh, jeez. How is it that you know all of the... Oh, because they're all memes?
Yeah, but I've seen this movie many times.
Why?
Because
you could have watched The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, it's like a 5-year-old. I want to watch Shawshank.
No, but one of the many times you could have been like, well, actually, I would like to watch the greatest movie ever made. Let's load up Shawshank. Anyhow.
So, I feel like if I were to rewrite this movie with keeping most of it as it is, I'd bring in Anakin at the start of the movie or something, kind of get more background there of how awful it is to be a slave.
Yeah, we don't get that sense of that at all.
Which is...
he seems to be free, basically.
Yeah. I think these establishing shots are incredible. Like you say, the graphics look amazing. But here's Coruscant, the city planet.
Yeah.
You just have all these buildings and
Looks
stuff.
Really cool.
Here's Naboo. Filmed things literally in Italy and stuff. And these palaces and stuff. And
the underwater one was... really pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Visually it looks awesome.
And even though the next two movies are more heavy on CGI, there's actually a shocking amount of practical effects in this movie. Like the explosions with spaceships, the whole stadium for the pod race is a real miniature that they filmed on.
Oh wow.
That's a real thing. You can go behind the scenes. All the people are Q-tips that are spray painted different colors and stuff. But I do need to know, what are your thoughts on the pod race? Because you literally introduced this movie as Pod Race the movie and other things.
Yeah. I mean, it's less so now that I've rewatched it, but that says something about the pod race. That's literally the only thing I remembered from this movie.
Yeah.
Having watched it, so.
And it's about an hour into this movie.
Yeah, and it's not... talking about and prepping for and the aftermath of the pod race is still probably a half an hour of this movie.
Yeah.
Which seems out of portion to the importance of everything else in the movie.
Here's the thing.
It looks cool.
It's an incredible sequence.
Right, but it seems to contribute nothing to the plot at all.
But it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Every single pod has a different sound for its engine. Yeah. And there's no music until the end. Yeah. And so it's just engine sounds. Yeah. And like the what's the Sebulba? He's like, go, 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 go. It's just so cool. But once again, my dad, who was like, oh, the Jar Jar Binks movie, would also say like the pod race is too long or yada, yada, yada.
It just seems to have it contributes nothing. Other than it did look really good. This movie, it's weird. It's not like any other movie. It doesn't really follow a structure. It's literally its own this
thing.
Was anything other than a Star Wars movie, it wouldn't have been straight to Netflix kind of thing. Crazy.
Here's 2 Easter eggs which are kind of fun.
Okay.
In the council at the end when they're in that big Senate building, you see E.T.
Oh, really?
One of the things has the E.T. aliens in there.
Oh.
Which is cool. Funny because in the movie E.T., when they're trick-or-treating, he sees someone dressed up as Yoda and goes, home, home. So it's like, wait a second. E.T. recognized Yoda. He can lift things with his mind. Is E.T. a Jedi?
That's funny.
Another Easter egg is in Watto's junkyard is one of like the spaceship things, like pods from 2001: A Space Odyssey. That they go out in.
Oh wow!
That like Hal uses to kill that one guy and stuff. Yeah, one of those is just in the junk.
Huh.
That's cool.
That is cool.
That's all I have besides my stuff.
Okay.
So can we?
Do you want me to jump?
Yeah.
Philosophy stuff.
Yeah.
The general feel of the philosophy of this is pretty Eastern. Yeah. Like the whole be mindful of the future, but not at the expense of the moment. That's very Eastern. Like be here, be now.
Yeah.
So what is
Qui-Gon Jinn?
Qui-Gon says feel, don't think. Mm-hmm. Use your instincts. That's, that made me cringe because,
No, I
think.
don't know. Oh,
think. I mean, I get it that he's trying to train him to be to get it in his muscle memory, but like any society that's built on feel, don't think, I think is headed for a disaster. Which I guess, interestingly enough, this society becomes a disaster and everything falls apart. So maybe we should think rather than feel. I don't know.
Just realized.
What?
You would hate Top Gun Maverick.
Okay.
That is one of the lessons Maverick teaches them.
Don't think about anything.
Just do.
Just do. Yeah, I would. Yep. So that's why we're skipping.
I love seeing the insides of your brain work. What?
That can't possibly be a surprise to you.
No.
Think.
In hindsight, no, but
okay.
I would never have thought about that.
And then we have this, I don't know, Hindi sense of fate. So like, can we say nothing happens by accident? Like that's a fate. Like everything is pre-laid out, or that somebody probably I think it's.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Qui-Gon is the main philosophical spouter of crap in the movie. So he also says finding him beating Anakin was the will of the Force. So we get this sense that everything going on in this universe is just like the Force playing a game against itself, like the two sides of the Force or whatever. Which is again very deterministic.
Yeah.
So kind of makes me wonder, why do we have to watch the movies? Because everything's predetermined and no one has any free will, and so.
What do you mean?
What's the point of doing anything if there is no free will? I don't know. But there was one that he said, actually, I very heavily subscribe to the be mindful of the future, but not at the expense of the moment.
Yeah.
I like that.
Me too.
I also like the, he says at one point, your focus determines your reality, which I think is a very deep insight that I think is universally applicable.
Yeah.
So another way to say it is like there's a cliche, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same thing. I believe that your focus determines your reality is an accurate representation of how we shape the world that we personally live in.
Yeah.
What we focus on, that is the world that we have. So
yeah, I feel like...
So if your world that you live in currently sucks, change your focus, is what he's saying.
Ooh, I love that.
So start focusing on something else.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to make you a poster of Qui-Gon Jinn and with that line on it.
Okay. And I will put it in my closet. So your focus determines your reality. So those are the philosophical concepts that I pulled out.
Yeah.
Some of which I agree with wholeheartedly. Some of which I think make life meaningless. So
I have a couple things. Let's start with the Qui-Gon Jinn one. So Qui-Gon Jinn, he's not on the Jedi Council. In fact, Obi-Wan Kenobi, he even says, if you would just follow the code, you'd be on the council. The Jedi Code. So Qui-Gon Jinn, he does what he thinks is right over like the code of the Jedi.
That's kind of like me. I feel that.
But like what he thinks is right is the Force. He's listening to the will of the Force. He even says, so it's kind of like, I guess the easiest metaphor is probably faith. It's like, I will do what needs to happen based on my faith type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to turn against my religion or something.
So I've thought this out. These are my guiding principles. I will act by these principles, not by some bureaucratic bullcrap that the council decides or the Jedi Force group, whatever. What is it called?
The Jedi Council?
It is the council?
Yeah. So, like, in the movie, we see that he's taking on Anakin, but Anakin's too old, right? He's 8, 9.
Sure.
So, hopefully that making you question, like, the ethics of the Jedi. Is like, wait, so you have to be, like, a child to be indoctrinated
so
in the
ethics,
Jedis?
we'll bring up bureaucratic ethics when we get to that. But
like, Qui-Gon is an interesting character because, you know, he's doing what he thinks is right based on what he thinks is right, not what the Jedi thinks is right. So that kind of makes him like a rebel archetype on top of like being like, because I do think he's like the hero archetype.
Sure.
Trying
to improve the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sees, because he tried to save Anakin and his mom. He's trying to do what he can. But
I actually really liked his character.
Yeah, not the actor acting.
Well, not the quote unquote acting, but the character and what he did and how he, like, the motivations behind what he did. Right. I liked a lot. I feel like if I were a Jedi,
you'd be like Qui-Gon.
Yeah, he would be the guy I would be like.
Yeah, and that's why I love his character, because it doesn't matter what anyone says or does. He's going to do what he believes is true. And there's something I'm kind of break canon, I suppose, but he is dead set on Anakin winning this pod race. The only way to do this is get the money, is to make this bet. Don't even barely know this kid. What am I doing? Yeah. But he's so in tune with the Force, or I guess how he sees the world, like he trusts it. Like he knows it's going to happen. But this is something I realized for the first time. In The Force Awakens, movies away from us now, Rey literally says, something has awakened inside of me, meaning the Force. Okay. Luke Skywalker had the Force this whole time, but like needed to be awakened. I think this Qui-Gon knew Anakin had the Force, and Qui-Gon literally awakened the Force in him to like, yeah, you're gonna win this because you have all this Force inside of you. So I think kind of like a cool parallel between all 3 trilogies is our main character
awakened,
discovering this hidden power within them.
Cool.
And George Lucas has this fun quote from behind the scenes between this trilogy and the next and the original trilogy. It's like poetry. It rhymes. So we're going to see a lot of stuff in this trilogy mirroring the original trilogy. And then the sequels try to do it, but it's more like nostalgia bait. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. But with that being said, something that I think is cool, and I didn't discover it, was I've watched a lot of analysis in the last 10, 15 years of my life about Star Wars and stuff. But in the original movie, A New Hope, it ends with the rebels defeating and blowing up the Death Star and stuff, and they're fighting the Empire. This movie, the Jedi and the Senate, the Republic, is the Empire. They are in control.
Right.
And they're arguably fighting and defeating like the Federalists that want to leave, or the Trade Federation.
Right.
You know, so it's reversed.
Yeah.
The Empire wins this battle.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are against us. No. We're gonna stop you. We're the Jedi and the Senate or whatever.
So reflection, yeah. And
I think there are some clear connections with like George Lucas's personal beliefs against fascism, and like the Ewoks are reminiscent of the Viet Cong and Vietnam and stuff.
Oh.
I think George Lucas has specific, strong negative beliefs to bureaucracy, like you were going to say.
Good, yeah.
And that's why another thing I just find interesting is, how is Palpatine going to gain control with bureaucracy? Yeah. And they're going to have to vote him out. Someone else will step in. I guess I'll be the thing. It's all part of my master plan. Right. I'm going to use bureaucracy as a weapon.
Yeah.
I will make it legal.
Yeah.
I guess one of my questions for you is bureaucracy in charge?
Yes.
And what does that do for our society?
Pisses me off.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all it does.
Yeah.
No. So that's are you done?
Yeah, I'm past.
So transitioning into ethics then. We have 2 main schools of ethics that we see. So they say, is it legal? He says, I will make it legal. So that's our rule-bound, legalistic. If I can pass a law, then it's right. Then it's ethical. If there's a law, it makes it ethical. And then we also have, hand in hand with that, the bureaucratic ethics.
Yeah.
Which is, if it's not a part of the prescribed system of how we do things, then it's not right. We can just look at, since we're both educators, we can look at the educational system. Mm-hmm. It is almost completely controlled by bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So the tests that we take, and the Common Core that we have to teach, and we can teach these things because of these regulations, but we can't teach these things. This literature is off. We cannot teach that literature because of these bureaucratic rules, and this group says we don't. And so, yeah, if we take that and go out into literally any profession, bureaucracy has its nasty, grubby little rotten fingers in everything about our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even look at the Coke. Like, I'm drinking a Coke here. We look at the Coke can. Bureaucracy's all over this can. Yeah. We have a standardized size of it. We have to have listed on the. So even though there's literally no nutritional value of anything at all in this can, we have to have this stupid label on the side that says calories 0, total fat 0, 0, 0. Like, bureaucracy is literally like we breathe it and we soak it, and it infests us and infects our everyday life and ruins everything. So it kills creativity. Actually, that's all. Because I have very strong feelings, and I'm probably going to get in trouble. So,
hold on.
Just like the idea that we should do something just because somebody at some point created a procedure that we were supposed to follow is to me offensive to everything I believe in about what we should be teaching and what we should be doing as people. Bureaucracy is anti-critical thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously this is a passion button for me. So
right.
I'll calm down a little bit.
You actually reminded me. This is from the Andor show. So
part of the Star Wars.
Part of Star Wars.
Okay.
It's what leads up to Rogue One. It's in between 3 and 4.
Okay.
Here's a quote. This is like the rebellion is starting.
Okay.
And a character is writing a manifesto of rebellion. And he says, "The pace of repression outstrips our ability to understand it. And that is the real trick of the imperial thought machine. It's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities than a single incident." Kind of, it didn't line up exactly like I thought it would. But it's more like, let's make it so bad or so difficult that it's just easier to do nothing type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
The pace of repression. If it's slow enough, we won't notice it.
Yeah, the idea that I can get what I want done if I make enough forms and procedures and rules that you have to jump over and committees you have to meet with, that it's easier to just do what I want. That is the soul of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Yes, I despise it.
Hey, here's how long Star Wars has been with me. I don't know if I saw this in a YouTube video or if someone told me this idea. I genuinely don't know where this came from. But I was reminded of it when I watched this. When Qui-Gon is talking about midichlorians, he says that it's a symbiotic relationship. That's kind of maybe a theme of this movie. They're symbiotic in Naboo. The Gungans and the humans had to learn to work together as part of a symbiotic relationship here. So that's kind of like this theme of you got to learn to work together to make things play out. Here's something that Dave Filoni pointed out, and he's the guy behind the cartoon TV show and the Mandalorian stuff. The Duel of the Fates, which is what the song was called. He said the Duel of the Fates was Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul. The fate of Anakin Skywalker. Qui-Gon wins. Qui-Gon's raising Anakin to be a Jedi and will be a father figure to him. Darth Maul wins. Who knows what will happen to Anakin?
Right.
It's not clear. And so that's like the Duel of the Fate. It's Anakin's fate, which is kind of a cool way to put it.
Yeah.
But Qui-Gon loses. And
He
now
does.
Obi-Wan Kenobi's going to be training him, and it's maybe not so much father figure as brothers, which will change how Anakin's raised and things. Yeah. Which is, I think,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Qui-Gon
trying to calm down.
elects to take Anakin with him. Is it more ethical to take Anakin and train him to never see his mom again, or would it be more ethical to keep him with his mother?
Well, considering that all of the characters involved wanted him to go.
Yeah. Like, in real life, is it better to free a slave or to keep a family together type of thing? Because both are good, arguably. One's free and one's
I think I would stand by that. So if everyone involved is like, yeah, we need to do this, then there's no other ethical question there. We free the kid and... Yeah, but if you're forcing freedom on someone that doesn't want it, then that would be an ethical problem.
Oh, yeah. I
would say. So if you're like forcibly or like we have the in the United States the I don't remember what it's called, but the Indian education program where they forcibly removed Native American children from their home to be educated in English schools, and they're like that is an unethical. Because for a number of reasons, primarily being that those children living in the Native American homes there was nothing wrong there. They were being raised culturally different from quote unquote mainstream America, but it never would be the right of the dominant culture to decide this needs to happen to another culture.
Yeah, we raised a generation of indigenous people that once they were, in quote, educated,
And they no longer fit in the culture.
They don't fit anywhere now. So it was a big...
Yeah, they killed the languages. Yeah. It was horrible. So to answer your question, I think in this instance, yes, that was completely ethical. That's an example of how it should be.
Yeah.
How we should lift people out of a bad situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Did you know that Padme's fake queen, that's Keira Knightley?
Oh, wow.
Like pre-Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, obviously. I didn't know that.
And growing up, I can never tell the difference. But now I'm like, oh yeah, that one's Natalie Portman, obviously.
Right.
That one's Keira Knightley, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, that's Keira Knightley. It's kind of cool.
That's interesting. She can't act either in this, apparently. Although she rocks pirates.
To be fair, all of her lines are have a specific way of talking. I'm just so curious about manipulation, because the thing is, Padme has zero idea she's being manipulated.
Right. Because
Palpatine is saying things that sound good. Hypothetically, it's like, oh, we can't do that yet, or because it won't work.
Right.
But it's all for his gain and all his benefit.
Yep.
Like, how do people manipulate others without them knowing? Palpatine's telling the Trade Federation, and it's like, I am going to help you. He's telling Padme, I'm going to help you. Really, he's playing both sides.
Right.
He wants to get himself power.
So this is from my perspective, an example. Pathos versus logos.
Yeah.
So he uses pathos as a weapon against both of those groups.
Yeah.
So in Padme's case, he uses her emotional sense of responsibility and duty to her people to manipulate her. Uh-huh. And in the case of the Trade Federation, he's using their emotional connection to wealth, or I don't know, actually never really understood why they were there. And then he himself is a very heavily logic-driven individual. And so this is, if we want to look at it like that, this is a really clear argument for why logos will always trump pathos. The logical people will always win. The people driven by logic will always defeat people driven by emotion. And so, Palpatine's a logic-driven guy, and he will win over every pathos-driven person he ever encounters.
Ooh.
That's my read. What's your read?
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect.
That is not to say that what he's doing with his logos is ethical or good or right. Hitler, we can look at Hitler. How did he pull it off? He used logos against a pathos-driven populace.
Yeah.
He successfully engendered the hatred against group after group after group. That's not logos. You don't logically, one group is not superior or inferior to another. That's emotion. And he created that and used it.
Yeah, because in this movie, they're like, look, the Chancellor's not willing to help out this planet.
Right. Pathos.
Yeah, let's get him out of there. Well, if the Empire is a metaphor for Nazis, then
I don't know if it is.
It is.
It is.
If you think about it, the stormtroopers are white. There are ones that wear black, and the Royal Guard are red. Those are the colors of the Nazis.
Oh.
I
didn't.
Very, very.
Is that for real?
That is for real.
Oh, I didn't.
Very clear.
Know that.
Some metaphors there.
Oh.
But it's also like if you think of the Empire Strikes Back, when Palpatine literally walks onto the thing, they're all lined up like Nazis from. There's that one famous Nazi propaganda movie that, for better or worse, very influential.
Yeah.
Even though it's literal propaganda.
Yep.
But it defines how we see them. And so in the original trilogy uses that language to help reinstate how evil they are and stuff. Yada, yada. We'll get there. Yeah.
Cool.
So, Phantom Menace, what do you give it out of 5 stars?
1. 1 star. That is largely John Williams' star.
He's amazing.
And then just that one scene, and then the visual, you can't not recognize how visually great this movie is. Yeah. But those things standing by themselves are insufficient in my mind. Anyhow, not even, I probably would never watch this movie again.
So, hey, one and done, but you'll have Duel of the Fates to always hold dear.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'll probably buy the soundtrack.
What's funny is people who bought the soundtrack before the movie saw a little number called Qui-Gon's Funeral.
Spoilers!
Yep.
That's funny.
Oh, man. Anyway. So, okay, I want you to keep
So
this.
what is yours? Are you like, 4 stars?
It was 2, I think, and I don't understand why exactly. I think nostalgia is a very powerful drug.
Okay.
I think I'm bumping up to a 3.
That's unconscionable.
I want you to remember this, though, for the next movie. I know people who will stare at me in the eyes and say this one is their favorite.
Wow.
Attack of the Clones. I want you to keep that in mind when you watch
That's the next one is Attack of the Clones?
Attack of the Clones.
Okay.
Wait,
this is the one where the dude jumps out the window and falls for 4.5 miles. And,
yeah.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
That's why just want you to know that there are people who love the next one.
Okay.
The dessert.
We should get one of those people to come in for a few minutes so that we can.
My brother-in-law wants to do Revenge of the Sith because that's his favorite movie.
Is that
that's the third one?
Third one. Okay.
The dessert of the real is that stuff they were eating that Jar Jar was using his tongue to eat. Anthony.
Oh, okay.
You have lightning quick reflexes to be a Jedi. Do not do that again. You know. I love that we're on this journey together. This is.
I will enjoy it once we get to the 4th movie,
which is a little ways away.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love you.
We do love you. Thanks for listening.
Think critically.
Yes, please.
All right. Bye.